Admiral Kate Morrison stood in the command center of the battleship USS Thunderbolt. The metal walls around her hummed with power from the ship's engines. Red warning lights blinked across dozens of screens. She knew something terrible had happened, before anyone spoke a word. Captain Ryan Blake walked toward her with heavy steps. His face was pale and his hands shook slightly as he held a data pad. Morrison had known Blake for 15 years. She had never seen him look so upset. "Admiral, we just got word from Earth Command," Blake said quietly. "The Zephyrians hit New Denver." Morrison felt her stomach drop. New Denver was a peaceful mining colony on Kepler 442b. 12,000 people lived there. Most were families who had moved there for a better life. They grew food, mined minerals, and built homes. They had no weapons and no military base. "How bad is it?" Morrison asked, though she already feared the answer. Blake looked down at his datapad. "There are no survivors, Admiral, none at all." The words hit Morrison like a physical blow. 12,000 people. Gone. All of them. Men, women, and children who had done nothing wrong except try to build a life among the stars. The Zephyrians called it a routine resource acquisition, Blake continued. They wanted the planet's mineral deposits. They said the humans were in the way. Morrison closed her eyes for a moment. This was not the first attack. For 3 years, alien powers had been hitting human settlements. They would arrive with their warships, kill everyone, and take whatever they wanted. Each time, Earth sent diplomatic protests. Each time, the aliens ignored them. "How many attacks does this make?" Morrison asked. 47, Blake replied immediately. 47 attacks in 3 years. The Galactic Council says we are too small to matter. They tell us these things happen in space and we should accept it. Commander Lisa Grant entered the room. She worked for Earth intelligence and always seemed to know things before anyone else. Today she looked angry. Morrison had never seen Grant look angry before. "Admiral, I have new information," Grant said. "We intercepted alien communications 3 days ago. 6 major powers have made a secret agreement." Morrison turned to face Grant completely. "What kind of agreement?" Grant activated a holographic display. Images of alien ships and planets appeared in the air between them. The Zephyrians, Korthak Dominion, Stellar Federation, Vorthon Alliance, Centauri Republic, and the Shadowkin Collective have formed a pact. They plan to eliminate all human settlements before Earth becomes too strong. The room became very quiet. Morrison could hear the ship's air recycling system and the distant hum of the engines. She could hear her own heartbeat. "They think we are growing too fast," Grant continued. "Human technology has advanced more in 50 years than most species advance in 500 years. They are afraid we will become a threat to their power." Blake looked at the holographic display. "So they decided to kill us all first." "That appears to be their plan," Grant said. "The attacks are not random, they are systematic. They want to eliminate human colonies one by one until Earth is alone and surrounded." Morrison walked to the large window that showed space outside. Stars filled the darkness like tiny diamonds. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were planning to kill more humans. Somewhere out there, families were sleeping peacefully, not knowing that death was coming for them. She thought about her own family back on Earth. Her daughter Jenny was 22 and worked as a teacher. Her son Bobby was 19 and studied engineering. They lived normal lives. They worried about normal things like jobs and relationships. They did not know that 6 alien powers wanted to destroy humanity. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Blake asked. Morrison continued looking out at the stars. She had spent her whole career trying to keep peace. She had always believed that different species could live together without fighting. She had been wrong. "Send a message to all human fleets," she said slowly. "Tell them to return to the Sol system immediately." "All of them?" Grant asked. "That will leave our colonies completely undefended." "Yes, all of them," Morrison replied. "If the aliens want to kill us, they will have to come to Earth to finish the job." Blake began entering commands into his console. "What about the colonies, Admiral? If we leave them alone, the aliens will attack them." Morrison turned around to face her officers. "The colonies are already doomed. The aliens have too many ships and we have too few. We cannot protect everyone by spreading our forces thin. We need to bring all our strength to one place. Grant frowned. Earth Command might not approve of abandoning the colonies. Earth Command will approve when they understand what we are really doing, Morrison said. We are not abandoning anyone. We are preparing for something much bigger. She walked to the main communication console and activated the galaxy-wide broadcast system. This system could send messages to every major power in space. It was usually used for diplomatic communications and trade agreements. Open a channel to all major governments and military commands, Morrison ordered. The communication officer, Lieutenant Karen Brown, looked surprised. Admiral, that will include the aliens who have been attacking us. Yes, it will, Morrison said. I want them all to hear this. A green light appeared on the console, showing that the channel was open. Morrison's voice would now be broadcast to hundreds of worlds and thousands of ships across the galaxy. This is Admiral Kate Morrison of the United Earth Fleet, she began. Her voice was calm and clear. I am speaking to all major powers in this galaxy. For 3 years, human settlements have been attacked without cause. Peaceful families have been murdered for their land and resources. We have tried diplomacy. We have tried negotiation. We have tried working with the Galactic Council. She paused for a moment, letting her words sink in. Today, the Zephyrian Empire murdered 12,000 innocent people on New Denver. We know about the secret pact between 6 major powers to eliminate humanity. We know you see us as a threat that must be destroyed before we become too strong. Blake and Grant watched Morrison carefully. They could see something changing in her expression. The diplomatic admiral they knew was disappearing. Something harder was taking her place. This is Earth's final warning to the galaxy, Morrison continued. One more attack on any human settlement, ship, or citizen will result in the total annihilation of the aggressor species. Not defeat, not surrender, complete annihilation. You have been warned. Morrison ended the transmission and turned off the communication system. The room was completely silent for several seconds. Admiral, Grant said carefully, do we actually have weapons that can destroy entire species? Morrison looked at her, intelligence officer with cold eyes. Commander Grant, there are many things about Earth's military capabilities that are classified above your security level. What I will tell you is this. Earth has not been defenseless for a very long time. We have simply chosen not to use our true weapons. Blake stepped closer to Morrison. Admiral, if we have such powerful weapons, why did we let the aliens kill so many of our people? Morrison walked back to the window and looked out at the stars again. Because once we use those weapons, there will be no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way. We will no longer be the peaceful humans who just want to explore space and make friends. We will be something else entirely. She turned back to face her officers. The aliens think we are weak prey animals. They think our diplomatic protests prove we cannot fight back. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Grant checked her datapad. Admiral, I am already receiving responses to your broadcast. The alien governments are laughing at us. They think we are bluffing. Morrison smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Good. Let them think that. It will make what comes next much more effective. The red warning lights continued to blink across the command center screens. But now they seemed less like warnings and more like promises. Supreme Commander Vex Thaloran sat in his golden throne on the bridge of his flagship. The Zephyrian warship was massive, stretching over 2 miles long and bristling with weapons. Around him, dozens of officers worked at control stations. The wee bridge was filled with the sounds of beeping computers and whispered conversations. Thaloran was watching a recording of Admiral Morrison's broadcast for the 3rd time. Each time he watched it, he laughed harder. The idea that humans could threaten the mighty Zephyrian Empire was the funniest thing he had heard in years. Total annihilation, Thaloran said to his second-in-command, General Kex Valoran. These primitive mammals think they can annihilate us. We who have conquered 1,000 worlds. We who have ruled space for 10,000 years. Valoran nodded and smiled. Commander, the humans have 12 warships. We have over 3,000. They control 7 small colonies. We control 200 star systems. The threat is meaningless. Thaloran stood up from his throne and walked to the large window that showed space outside. He could see dozens of Zephyrian ships floating in formation around his flagship. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. "Prepare a fleet," Thaloran ordered. 200 ships should be enough to crush whatever pathetic defense the humans can manage. "Where shall we attack, Commander?" Valoran asked. Thaloran smiled with his sharp teeth showing. "The research station at Proxima Centauri. It has only 50 humans aboard. We will kill them slowly and broadcast their deaths across the galaxy. Everyone will see what happens to species that threaten the Zephyrian Empire." Meanwhile, on the neutral world of Harmony Station, the Galactic Council was meeting in emergency session. The massive council chamber could hold representatives from 200 different species. Today it was completely full. Every seat was occupied and dozens more beings stood along the walls. Council Speaker Nyx Kelvareth called for order by banging her silver gavel on the podium. She was tall and elegant with blue skin and silver hair. Her species, the Altarians, had been members of the council for over 5,000 years. "We are here to discuss the terrorist threats made by the human government," Kelvareth announced. "Earth has declared its intention to commit genocide against any species that attacks human settlements." A representative from the Korthak Dominion stood up. Premier Grath Mordoon was a large reptilian being with scales that changed color when he was angry. Right now his scales were turning dark red. "The humans dare to threaten civilized species," Mordoon hissed. "They are newcomers to space. They have been traveling between stars for less than 100 years. Yet they believe they can dictate terms to powers that have existed for millennia." Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. Most of the council members came from species that had been exploring space for thousands of years. To them, humans were like children who had just learned to walk, but were trying to tell adults what to do. Fleet Admiral Zara Velmont of the Stellar Federation stood up next. She was a warrior from a species that looked almost human, except for their red eyes and silver skin. "The human threats are clearly the desperate lies of a dying species. They know they cannot win a war against us, so they try to frighten us with impossible claims." Council Speaker Kelvareth nodded. "The Stellar Federation raises a valid point. Humans lack the technology and resources to carry out their threats. However, we cannot ignore direct threats against Council member species." She called for a formal vote. "All in favor of condemning Earth's terrorist threats and authorizing military action if necessary?" Hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages rose throughout the chamber. The vote was overwhelmingly in favor of the resolution. Only 3 species abstained from voting. These were smaller powers that had positive trade relationships with Earth. Back on Earth, President Helen Carter stood at the podium in the Global Assembly Hall. The room was filled with representatives from every nation on the planet. Cameras broadcast her speech to billions of people around the world. "My fellow humans," Carter began. "For 3 years we have watched our people die in space. We have tried to solve this problem through diplomacy and peaceful negotiation. Those efforts have failed." She paused and looked directly into the main camera. "What I am about to tell you has been kept secret for 10 years. During this time, our greatest scientists have been working on projects that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. In a secure laboratory beneath the mountains of Colorado, Dr. Ben Hughes watched the president's speech on a small screen. Around him, dozens of scientists and engineers worked on machines that looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before. The devices hummed with energy and glowed with strange lights. Dr. Hughes was the director of something called the Phoenix Initiative. For 10 years he had been leading a team of the smartest people on Earth. Their job was to create weapons that could protect humanity from any threat. What they had built was beyond anything the alien species could imagine. Dr. Hughes called his assistant, Dr. Amy Torres. She was a young woman who specialized in quantum physics. "The cascade generators are ready for deployment. All we need is the authorization code from the president." Hughes nodded but looked worried. "Amy, are you sure we want to do this? Once we use these weapons, there will be no going back. The galaxy will never trust us again." Torres looked at him with sad eyes. "Ben, they are already trying to kill us all. The galaxy already does not trust us. At least this way, we will survive." On the other side of the laboratory, Dr. Jake Peterson was making final adjustments to a device that was the size of a small car. The machine looked like a metal sphere covered in glowing crystals and spinning rings. "The quantum field is stable," Peterson announced. "We can target any planet in the galaxy and change its atmosphere to something that cannot support life. The process is irreversible and complete." Hughes walked over to Peterson's workstation. "How long does the transformation take?" "About 6 hours for a planet the size of Earth," Peterson replied. "Smaller planets take less time. Larger planets take longer. But once it starts, nothing can stop it." Back in space, the Zephyrian fleet was moving toward Proxima Centauri. Supreme Commander Thalarin sat in his throne and watched the tactical display. The human research station appeared as a tiny dot on the screen. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the research station," reported the communications officer. "Put it on the main screen," Thalarin ordered. The image of Captain Sam Rodriguez appeared on the screen. He was the commander of the research station. Behind him, other humans could be seen working at their stations. They looked calm despite the approaching fleet. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Human Research Station," he said. "I am speaking directly to the Zephyrian commander. Turn back now." Earth meant every word of its warning. "You have one chance to avoid the destruction of your entire species." Thaloran laughed so hard that tears came to his eyes. "Humans," he said between laughs, "you are about to die, and you still make threats. Watch and learn what happens to species that oppose the Zephyrian Empire." He turned to his weapons officer. "Charge all weapons, target the research station. I want it destroyed slowly so they have time to feel fear." "Yes, Commander," the weapons officer replied. "All weapons charged and ready." Thaloran smiled with satisfaction. Fire. Brilliant beams of energy shot out from the Zephyrian ships. They struck the research station and tore through its hull like paper. Explosions bloomed across the station's surface. The structure began to break apart and spin out of control. On the main screen, Captain Rodriguez's image flickered and disappeared as his communication equipment was destroyed. Within minutes, the entire research station was nothing but floating debris. "Broadcast that across the galaxy," Thaloran ordered. "Let everyone see what happens to humans who threaten their betters." But even as he spoke, something was happening that he could not see. Hidden sensors throughout the galaxy detected the destruction of the research station. Automatic systems activated. Secret signals were sent to secret locations. On Earth, President Carter received a message that consisted of just 2 words. "It's time." She picked up a red phone that connected directly to the Phoenix Initiative. "Dr. Hughes, you have authorization to proceed with Protocol 7. Hughes looked at his team of scientists. "You heard the President. The aliens have made their choice. Now we make ours." Dr. Torres activated her console. "Quantum cascade generators are online. Target locked on. The Zephyrian homeworld of Zetha Prime. Dr. Peterson, prepare for transmission," Hughes ordered. Peterson's hands moved over his controls. "Ready to broadcast, sir." Hughes took a deep breath. "Begin the demonstration." In space, the Zephyrian fleet was celebrating their easy victory. They had destroyed the human research station without losing a single ship. Supreme Commander Thaloran was already planning his next attack. Then his communications officer spoke up. "Commander, I am receiving a transmission from Earth. It appears to be directed at our homeworld." "Put it on screen," Thaloran ordered, still feeling pleased with himself. The image of Dr. Amy Torres appeared on the screen. She was standing in front of a machine that glowed with strange energy. "This is Dr. Torres of the Phoenix Initiative," she said calmly. "You have just killed innocent humans despite our warning." Supreme Commander Vex Thaloran stared at the screen showing Dr. Torres. He had stopped laughing. Something about the human woman's calm voice made him feel uncomfortable. She spoke like someone who knew exactly what she was doing. "What kind of weapon did they just activate?" Thaloran asked his science officer. The science officer, a thin Zephyrian named Kex Moltron, checked his instruments. "Commander, I am detecting some kind of energy transmission. It appears to be directed toward our homeworld, but the readings make no sense." What do you mean they make no sense? Thaloran demanded. Moltrin looked confused and frightened. The energy signature suggests they are targeting molecular bonds in our atmosphere, but that is impossible. No species has that kind of technology. On the screen, Dr. Torres continued speaking. The quantum cascade has been activated. Your homeworld's atmosphere will begin changing in approximately 4 minutes. The process cannot be stopped or reversed. Your species has exactly 6 hours before Zetha Prime becomes uninhabitable. Thaloran jumped up from his throne. This is ridiculous. Humans do not have such weapons. They are trying to trick us. But even as he spoke, his communications officer was receiving urgent messages from Zetha Prime. The reports were all the same. The sky was changing color. The air was becoming harder to breathe. Panic was spreading through the cities. On Zetha Prime, billions of Zephyrians looked up at their sky in terror. The familiar purple color was fading to a sickly yellow. Weather stations across the planet reported the same impossible readings. The atmosphere was transforming into something that could not support Zephyrian life. Governor Lex Thrandon stood on the balcony of the planetary Capitol building. He could see crowds of people running through the streets below. Emergency sirens wailed across the city. He pressed his communicator and spoke to Supreme Commander Thaloran. "Commander, you must stop this somehow," Thrandon said urgently. "Our scientists confirm that the atmosphere is changing. At the current rate, we have less than 6 hours before everyone on the planet dies." Thaloran could hear the panic in the governor's voice. He turned to his weapons officer. "Target Earth immediately. Fire everything we have." "Commander, Earth is too far away," the weapons officer replied. "Our weapons cannot reach that distance." "Then contact the other fleets," Thaloran ordered. "Tell them to attack Earth now. Tell them to destroy the entire planet." Dr. Torres appeared on the screen again. "Commander Thaloran, your weapons cannot reach Earth from your current position. Your other fleets cannot reach Earth in time to save your homeworld, but we can stop the cascade if you surrender immediately." Thaloran's scales turned dark with rage. "Zephyrians do not surrender to inferior species." "Then your species will die," Torres replied simply. "You have 5 hours and 43 minutes remaining." The transmission ended. Thaloran stared at the blank screen for several seconds. Around him, his officers waited for orders. But for the first time in his life, the Supreme Commander did not know what to do. Meanwhile, on the planet Korthax, Premier Grath Mordoon was watching the same, broadcast in his war room. His military advisors surrounded a large table covered with star maps and tactical displays. "Premier, the humans claim they can destroy any planet," said General Rex Bruthor, "but they have only demonstrated this ability on one world. They cannot possibly have enough weapons to threaten all of us." Mordoon's scales flickered between red and orange as he thought. "Perhaps. But if they can destroy even one homeworld, they are more dangerous than we believed." Admiral Vex Croden, the head of the Korthax Space Fleet, pointed to a display showing ship positions. "Premier, we have 3,000 warships. The Stellar Federation has 2,000. The other powers have thousands more. Even if the humans have these planet-killing weapons, they cannot have very many of them." "What do you recommend?" Mordoon asked. Croden smiled with his sharp teeth. "We attack immediately with everything we have. We overwhelm Earth before they can use more of their weapons. If we act fast enough, we can win this war in a single battle." On the neutral world of Harmony Station, the Galactic Council was meeting again. This time, the atmosphere was very different. Instead of laughter and dismissive comments, there was fear and uncertainty. Council Speaker Nyx Kelvareth called for order, but her voice was not as confident as before. "We have all seen the reports from Zetha Prime. The human weapon appears to be real and functional." A representative from the Centauri Republic stood up. Senator Lux Meridian was an old being who had lived for over 400 years. He had seen many wars and many weapons, but nothing like this. "Speaker Kelvareth, we need to consider the possibility that humanity has been hiding their true capabilities for years," Meridian said. "If they can destroy atmospheres from across the galaxy, what other weapons might they possess?" Fleet Admiral Zara Velmont of the Stellar Federation stood up angrily. "We cannot let fear control our decisions. Yes, the humans have surprised us with one weapon, but they are still vastly outnumbered. If all the major powers work together, we can crush Earth before they can use their weapons again. And if we are wrong? Asked a representative from the Fourth in Alliance. If they have more weapons than we think? If they can destroy all our homeworlds? Belmont pounded her fist on her chair. Then we die fighting instead of living as slaves to a species that has been in space for less than a century. Back on Earth, President Carter was meeting with her top military leaders in a secure room beneath the Capitol. The walls were lined with screens showing the positions of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Madam President, we are detecting massive fleet movements, reported General Frank Mason, head of Earth's military intelligence. The Korthak Dominion is mobilizing everything they have. So are the Stellar Federation and the other powers. Carter nodded grimly. They have decided to attack us all at once. How long do we have? Based on their current speed and position, approximately 18 hours before the first fleets reach the Sol system, Mason replied. Defense Secretary Linda Hayes stepped forward. Madam President, our space fleet cannot possibly fight all of them at once. We have 12 battleships. They will have over 10,000. Carter turned to Dr. Hughes, who was standing quietly in the corner. Doctor, are the other cascade generators ready? Hughes nodded. Yes, Madam President. We have devices positioned near 17 major homeworlds. All we need is your authorization. Why 17? Carter asked. There are hundreds of species in the galaxy. These 17 control the major military forces that are moving against us, Hughes explained. If we eliminate them, the remaining species will be too small to threaten Earth. Secretary Hayes looked shocked. Madam President, you are talking about destroying 17 entire species. Billions of lives. Carter stared at the screens showing alien fleet movements for a long moment. Secretary Hayes, those fleets are coming to kill every human being alive. They want to destroy our entire species. What would you have me do? Try negotiation one more time, Hayes suggested. Maybe they will listen now that they have seen what happened to Zetha Prime. Carter shook her head. They have seen our power and they are still coming. That tells us everything we need to know about their intentions. On the hidden ship UFS Phantom, Captain Lisa Park received new orders from Earth Command. Her ship was one of 12 vessels that had been secretly positioned near alien homeworlds over the past year. Each ship carried a quantum cascade generator. Park's ship was hidden in the asteroid belt around the Korthak homeworld. Her crew had been living in complete silence for 8 months, waiting for this moment. Captain, we just received the activation codes, reported her first officer, Commander Mike Turner. Park looked at her crew. They were all volunteers who knew they might never return to Earth. Are we ready to proceed? Turner nodded. The cascade generator is fully charged. We can begin atmospheric transformation on your command. Park activated her communication system and sent a message directly to the surface of Korthax. This is Captain Park of the United Earth Fleet. Premier Mordoon, you have one final chance to call off your fleets. If your ships continue toward Earth, your homeworld will suffer the same fate as Zetha Prime. On Korthax, Premier Mordoon received the message in his war room. He could see that it was being broadcast from somewhere very close to his planet. The humans had somehow hidden a ship in his own star system. How is this possible? Mordoon demanded. How did they get a ship past all our defenses? His military advisors had no answer. They had been so focused on attacking human colonies that they had never considered the possibility that humans might attack them. General Bruthor checked his tactical displays. Premier, our fleets are already moving toward Earth. It will take hours to recall them, even if we wanted to. Mordoon stared at the message from Captain Park. He knew that recalling his fleets would be seen as weakness. His political enemies would use it against him. But if he did not recall them, his homeworld might be destroyed. Premier, what are your orders? Bruthor asked. Mordoon's scales turned bright red with anger and fear. The fleets continue to Earth. We will not bow to human threats. Captain Park received Mordoon's response and sighed. You have made your choice, Premier. I am sorry for what happens next. She turned to her crew. Begin atmospheric transformation of Korthax. Premier Grath Mordoon stood in his command bunker deep beneath the surface of Korthax. Through the thick metal walls he could hear the sound of panic in the streets above. His people were dying as their atmosphere changed into poison. "Premier, we have reports from all major cities," said his aide, Colonel Vex Malthor. "The air is becoming unbreathable. Hospitals are overflowing with people who cannot get enough oxygen." Mordoon looked at the screens showing his fleets moving toward Earth. Over 3,000 Korthak warships were traveling through space carrying the most powerful weapons his species had ever built. In 18 hours they would reach the Sol system and destroy the human homeworld. "Sir, should we recall the fleets?" Malthor asked. "Perhaps if we surrender, the humans will stop the atmospheric transformation." Mordoon's scales flashed bright, red with anger. "Never. The Korthak Dominion has ruled space for 8,000 years. We will not bow to mammals who learned to fly between stars 50 years ago." On the other side of the galaxy, Fleet Admiral Zara Velmont was receiving similar reports about her own homeworld. The Stellar Federation's capital world was experiencing the same deadly transformation, but like Mordoon, she refused to consider surrender. "Admiral, our families are dying," said Captain Rex Valorian, one of her senior officers. "My wife and children are on the homeworld. The medical reports say they have less than 4 hours left." Belmont turned away from him. "Captain, if we surrender to Earth now, our species will become slaves forever. At least this way we die fighting." She opened a communication channel to all Federation ships. "This is Admiral Velmont. I know you are all thinking about your families. Back home, I know you want to turn around and try to save them, but there is no way to save them now. The only thing we can do is make sure Earth pays for what they have done." Similar conversations were happening throughout the alien fleets. Commanders watched their homeworlds die while leading their ships toward what they hoped would be revenge against humanity. On Earth, Chancellor Eric Voss sat in the war room beneath New Geneva. He was humanity's top military strategist, and he had been planning for this moment for years. Around him, dozens of officers monitored alien fleet movements on holographic displays. "Chancellor, the alien fleets will arrive in the Sol system in 12 hours, reported Colonel Maria Santos, his senior aide. "Total enemy ships 9,743. Our fleet 12 ships. Voss nodded calmly. "What about the cascade generators? How are they performing?" Dr. Hughes appeared on a video screen from his laboratory. "Chancellor, all 17 transformations are proceeding normally. The alien homeworlds will be completely uninhabitable within 6 hours. So their fleets will arrive knowing that they have nothing left to fight for," Voss said. Colonel Santos looked worried. "Sir, even if their homeworlds are gone, they still have almost 10,000 warships. Our 12 ships cannot possibly fight all of them." Voss smiled slightly. "Colonel, you are thinking like the aliens do. You assume that having more ships means automatic victory. But humans have never fought wars the way other species fight wars." He activated a holographic display showing the Sol system. Earth appeared in the center, surrounded by the orbits of other planets. "The aliens will expect us to meet them in space with our battle fleet. Instead, we are going to let them come to us." "Sir, I don't understand," Santos said. Voss pointed to various locations in the holographic solar system. "For the past 5 years, we have been building defensive installations throughout the Sol system, not just around Earth, but around every planet, asteroid, and moon. The aliens think they are flying into a system defended by 12 ships. They are actually flying into the most heavily fortified star system in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Korthak flagship Dominator, Admiral Beth Kane was studying tactical displays. Kane was human, but she had left Earth 20 years ago to join the aliens. She believed that humanity was too weak and primitive to survive in space. "Admiral Kane, what do you think the humans will do when we arrive?" asked Premier Mordoon, who had joined the fleet after evacuating his dying homeworld. Kane looked at the display showing Earth. "Premier, I know humans better than anyone else in your fleet. They are emotional and unpredictable. They will probably try to negotiate at the last minute. Will they use more of their planet-killing weapons?" Mordoon asked. Kane shook her head. "Those weapons take enormous amounts of energy to operate. They cannot possibly have more than a few of them." They used their entire arsenal to destroy our homeworlds. Now they are defenseless. Mordoon felt hope for the first time in hours. So, we can still win this war. Yes, Premier. Earth will burn for what they did to our people. But Kane was wrong about humanity's capabilities. In hidden bases throughout the Sol system, Dr. Hughes and his team had been preparing for this moment since the Phoenix Initiative began. They had built more than just cascade generators. They had created weapons that could work in ways the aliens had never imagined. Dr. Hughes, the alien fleets are approaching the outer edge of our solar system, announced Dr. Torres from her monitoring station. Hughes looked at his instruments. How many ships? 9,751, Torres replied. They are traveling in 6 separate fleets, each one larger than our entire Navy. Hughes activated his communication system and spoke to President Carter. Madam President, the aliens are arriving. Are you ready to authorize the final phase? On the secure line, Carter's voice was calm but tired. Doctor, in the past 24 hours, we have destroyed 17 alien homeworlds. Billions of beings are dead because of decisions I made. Now you are asking me to authorize the deaths of millions more. Madam President, those millions are coming here to kill every human alive, Hughes reminded her. They know their homeworlds are gone. They are not coming to surrender. They are coming for revenge. Carter was quiet for several seconds. Doctor, if we do this, if we destroy their entire fleet, what happens next? What happens to humanity's place in the galaxy? Hughes considered the question carefully. Madam President, after today, no species will ever threaten humanity again. We will be the most feared power in the galaxy. Some will hate us, but all will respect us. And is that the kind of legacy we want to leave? Carter asked. It is the legacy that lets our children live to see tomorrow, Hughes replied. Carter made her decision. You have authorization for final phase operations, Doctor. Hughes turned to his team. You heard the President. Activate all defensive systems, prepare for Phase 2 of the Phoenix Protocol. Throughout the Sol system, hidden installations came online. On asteroids, moons, and planets, weapons that had been disguised as mining equipment and research stations revealed their true purpose. The aliens thought they were attacking a lightly defended star system. They were actually flying into a trap that had been 10 years in the making. The first alien fleet to enter the Sol system was led by Admiral Velmont of the Stellar Federation. Her ships appeared near the orbit of Neptune, the outermost planet. On her main screen, she could see Earth glowing like a small blue jewel in the distance. Admiral, I'm detecting some unusual energy readings from the asteroid belt, reported her science officer. Velmont looked at the tactical display. What kind of energy readings? Unknown, Admiral. The signatures do not match any known weapons or defensive systems. Velmont dismissed the report. Probably mining equipment or research stations. Focus on finding the human battle fleet. But there was no human battle fleet to find. Admiral Morrison had positioned Earth's 12 ships in a defensive formation around the planet itself. They were not trying to meet the aliens in deep space. They were waiting for the aliens to come to them. Admiral Morrison, the first alien fleet has entered our system, reported Captain Blake from his station on the UFS Thunderbolt. Morrison nodded. How long until they reach Earth? At their current speed, approximately 4 hours. Morrison activated her ship's communication system. This is Admiral Morrison to all alien fleets. You are entering the Sol system with hostile intent. This is your final opportunity to withdraw. Leave now, and your crews will be allowed to live. On the Stellar Federation flagship, Admiral Velmont laughed when she heard Morrison's message. The humans still think they can threaten us. Communications officer, send a reply. Channel open, Admiral. Velmont spoke with confidence. Admiral Morrison, this is Fleet Admiral Velmont. We are here to avenge our murdered homeworlds. Surrender, now, and we will make your deaths quick. Morrison's response was immediate. Admiral Velmont, you have made your choice. What happens next is your responsibility. The communication ended. Velmont, turned to her weapons officer. How long until we are in firing range of Earth? 3 hours and 47 minutes, Admiral. Good. Prepare all weapons. When we reach Earth, I want that planet reduced to burning ash. But even as she spoke, the trap was closing around her fleet. Hidden weapons throughout the Sol system were targeting the alien ships. In a few hours, the aliens would discover that humanity had learned more than just how to destroy planets. They had learned how to destroy entire fleets without firing a single conventional weapon. Dr. Torres looked at her monitoring equipment. Dr. Hughes, all alien fleets are now inside our defensive perimeter. Admiral Zara Velmont watched her flagship breaking apart around her. The bridge windows cracked with sounds like breaking ice. Sparks flew from control panels as the ship's systems failed one by one. Her crew worked desperately to keep the ship flying, but it was hopeless. Admiral, we have 15 minutes before complete hull failure, reported her science officer. His voice was calm despite knowing they were all about to die. Velmont looked at the tactical display. Earth was still 2 hours away at their current speed. Her fleet would never reach the human homeworld. But maybe, just maybe, some ships could get close enough to fire their weapons. All ships, maximum speed toward Earth, she ordered. Ignore hull damage, ignore system failures. I want every weapon we have aimed at that planet before we die. Throughout the dying alien fleet, similar orders were being given. Captains pushed their crumbling ships beyond safe limits. Engineers worked to keep weapon systems online even as their hulls turned to crystal and shattered. On the Korthak flagship Dominator, Admiral Beth Kane realized that her knowledge of humanity had been completely wrong. The humans were not weak, they were not emotional. They had planned this entire war years in advance. Premier Mordoon, we need to retreat immediately, Kane said urgently. The humans have weapons we never imagined. Our entire fleet is doomed. Premier. Mordoon's scales had turned black with rage and despair. Retreat to where, Admiral? Our homeworld is dead, our people are gone, there is nothing left except revenge. Kane tried one more time to make him understand. Sir, if we retreat now, some ships might survive. We could rebuild. We could find a way to fight another day. Mordoon laughed bitterly. With what? Our shipyards are on worlds that no longer have breathable air. Our military academies are on planets where nothing can live. Everything we built over 8,000 years is gone. He turned to face the main screen showing Earth. No, Admiral Kane. If we are going to die, we will die attacking the species that destroyed us. On Earth, President Carter stood in the war room watching the destruction of the alien fleets. On dozens of screens, she could see ships breaking apart as they desperately tried to reach Earth. Some had already fallen apart completely, becoming clouds of glittering debris that caught the light of the sun. Madam President, approximately 2,000 alien ships are still functional, reported General Mason. They will reach Earth's orbital space in 90 minutes. Dr. Hughes appeared on a communication screen. Madam President, should we activate the planetary defense grid? Carter looked at the screens showing dying alien ships. Dr. Hughes, how many beings are on those ships? Hughes checked his calculations. Approximately 3 million, Madam President. Carter closed her eyes for a moment. In the past day, she had authorized the deaths of billions of aliens on their homeworlds. Now she was about to order the deaths of millions more. Activate all planetary defenses, she said quietly. Let no alien ship reach Earth. Around Earth's orbit, hidden weapons platforms revealed themselves. For years, they had been disguised as communication satellites and research stations. Now they showed their true purpose as humanity's final line of defense. Admiral Morrison watched from the bridge of the UFS Thunderbolt as the defense platforms powered up. Captain Blake, how many platforms do we have in orbit? Blake checked his tactical display. 537 platforms, Admiral. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a battleship. Morrison nodded grimly. More than enough to handle what remains of the alien fleet. The first alien ships to reach Earth's orbital space were Centauri Republic vessels. Their hulls were half converted to crystal, and they flew in erratic patterns as their crews struggled to maintain control. They fired their weapons desperately, at Earth, But the energy beams were too weak to penetrate the planet's defensive shields. The orbital platforms responded immediately. Beams of pure energy lanced out from the hidden weapons, striking the alien ships with perfect accuracy. The crystallized hulls shattered instantly, sending the ships spinning into pieces. One by one, the remaining alien vessels met the same fate. Some tried to ram Earth's defensive platforms, hoping to damage them through sacrifice. Others attempted to hide behind Earth's moon. Nothing worked. The human defenses were too strong and too well prepared. Admiral Velmont's flagship was among the last ships to reach Earth. Half the bridge had already collapsed, and she could see space through cracks in the hull. Most of her crew was dead, killed when the ship's atmosphere leaked out through the failing structure. "Admiral, we are in weapons range of Earth," gasped her weapons officer, who was bleeding from cuts caused by flying debris. Velmont looked at Earth through the broken windows. The blue and green planet looked peaceful and beautiful. It was hard to believe that such a lovely world was home to the most dangerous species in the galaxy. "Fire everything," Velmont ordered. Her ships remaining. Weapons fired at Earth, but the energy beams struck the planetary shields and disappeared harmlessly. Seconds later, return fire from the orbital platforms tore her flagship apart completely. Dr. Torres watched the destruction from her laboratory on Earth. Dr. Hughes, that was the last functional alien ship. The immediate threat to Earth is over. Hughes looked at his monitoring equipment. "What about the homeworld transformations? Are they complete?" Torres checked her instruments. "All 17 alien homeworlds are now completely uninhabitable. The atmospheric transformations are permanent and irreversible." Hughes activated his communication system. "Madam President, the battle is over. All alien fleets have been destroyed. All hostile homeworlds have been neutralized." In the war room, President Carter looked at the screens showing the debris fields where alien fleets had died. Nearly 10,000 warships had been reduced to glittering clouds of metal and crystal. "What are our casualties?" Carter asked. General Mason checked his reports. "Zero human casualties, Madam President. Not a single human ship was damaged. No human installations were harmed." Carter sat down heavily in her chair. "And how many aliens did we kill today?" Dr. Hughes appeared on the communication screen. "Including the fleet crews and the populations of the 17 homeworlds, approximately 43 billion alien beings, Madam President." The number was so large that Carter could barely understand it. 43 billion lives ended because their governments chose war over peace. "Madam President, we are receiving communications from several minor alien species," reported the communications officer. "They are requesting immediate diplomatic meetings." Carter was not surprised. Word of humanity's victory would spread quickly through the galaxy. Every remaining species would want to know where they stood with Earth. "Schedule meetings with any species that wishes to talk," Carter ordered. "But make our position clear. We want peace, but we will defend ourselves if threatened." 3 days later, Admiral Morrison stood on the observation deck of the UFS Thunderbolt, looking out at the debris field that had once been the greatest military force in galactic history. Captain Blake joined her, carrying a data pad with the latest intelligence reports. "Admiral, we have received responses from 47 different alien species," Blake reported. 32 are requesting trade agreements. 15 are asking for mutual defense pacts. Morrison was not surprised. They want to be on the winning side. "There is something else, Admiral," Blake continued. "The Galactic Council has voted unanimously to offer Earth permanent membership with full voting rights." Morrison laughed bitterly. 2 weeks ago, they condemned us as terrorists. Now they want us as members. Blake looked at the datapad. Council Speaker Kelvereth sent a personal message. She says the Council recognizes Earth as the dominant military power in the galaxy and wishes to establish positive relations. Morrison turned away from the window. "Captain, send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them that Earth appreciates their offer, but we will need time to consider it." "What should I tell the species requesting meetings?" Blake asked. Morrison thought carefully. "Tell them we are willing to meet with any species that comes in peace, but make sure they understand our position. We did not want this war. We tried diplomacy first. We gave clear warnings. We only used force when every other option was exhausted. Blake nodded. And if they ask about our weapons capabilities? Morrison looked back at the debris field outside. Tell them the truth, Captain. Tell them that what they saw was only a small demonstration of what humanity can do when threatened. Tell them we have weapons they cannot imagine and the will to use them if necessary. As Blake left to send the messages, Morrison remained at the window. She thought about the 12,000 innocent people who had died on New Denver. Their deaths had started this war. Now, because of their sacrifice, humanity would never be seen as weak prey again. On Earth, President Carter addressed the Global Assembly for the final time as a wartime leader. My fellow humans, the threat to our species has been eliminated. We are safe, but we must never forget the cost of that safety. She paused and looked at the representatives from every nation on Earth. In 48 hours, we destroyed 6 major civilizations and their military forces. We did this not because we wanted to, but because we had no choice. We must carry this responsibility for the rest of our lives.